Hey guys, it's Mike with Riding in the Ozarks. Today we're going to do a little maintenance on the DR650 and get it ready for riding season. First thing we got to do is get it up on this new motorcycle lift of mine, and we're going to find out that little air compressor I've got is going to get the job done. I haven't put a single bike on it yet or lifted a single bike on it, so it's time to test it. So that's the Porter Cable pancake air compressor. We're going to see if that 6-gallon air compressor is good enough to lift this bike. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is drain the oil and change out the oil filter. And I know some of you are going to tell me I'm an idiot and I'm ruining my motorcycle because I'm going to put cheap Rotella Diesel Motor Oil in this motorcycle. Yep, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. So one of the first time I changed the oil on this DR that I did was I got a drain plug from, well, I can't think of the name of the place now, but I don't know if you can see it, but there are small pieces stuck to the end of that. Can you see that there? Against the white, you see that what I'm trying to show you?
That little piece sticking out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a magnetic drain plug. So any pieces of material floating around the oil that are magnetic, that are metal, should stick to it and keep it from circulating through the engine. I'll put a link to where you can order one if you're interested. They're cheap, they're a small investment, and good to have. All right, that magnetic drain plug I was showing you, I got that from ProCycle. It cost me $15. I still think that's a good investment. Now we have to get the oil filter out of here. It's right behind this plate where it says oil filter, for those of us who can't read. And these 3 bolts are 8mm, so we won't have to spend 10 minutes looking for that goddamn 10mm. This is what the oil filter looks like. It's pretty obvious which end goes in, which end goes out. The hole goes in. Well, you can see there's a shaft there that this oil filter just slides over the top of and sits on. Alright, now this is not the first time I've changed the oil on this motorcycle. I got it last spring and it had been sitting for quite a while. Well, apparently this thing stock has a vacuum operated petcock on it. Well, the petcock failed and fuel leaked down into the carburetor. Well, normally the float should stop it, and when the float comes up, the needle comes up and it seals that line and you don't overflow the carburetor with fuel. Well, maybe because this thing had been sitting so long it had gunk in there or whatever, but it did not seal. The carburetor filled up with fuel. What happens is when it gets to this point in the carburetor, there's no overflow. So then fuel runs down the intake into the cylinder, it leaks past the rings, down into the case, and this was completely full. It topped off the top of the case with fuel instead of oil. So the bike would barely crank, it was over full, and it smelled like gas, and that's a bad deal. All right, well, we've got new spark plugs in. I got those from ProCycle as well when I ordered the oil filter and the magnetic drain plug. I just got all that from them. I still got a few things I want to do to this bike besides the general maintenance stuff. For one, I still got to order a seat. Everybody's kind of leans toward the seat concept seat. I know ProCycle sells it, Rocky Mountain ATV. It looks like they're the same price. If anybody knows a way to get a discount or a place to go buy that from that's cheaper than $285, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, that's probably what I'm going to buy, and where I'm going to get it, it's going to be from one of those two vendors. All right, I've got the drain plug back in this thing. It's time to put oil in it. But before we do that, let's talk about the oil I'm using. This is Shell Rotella 15W40. And if you look right there real close, it says heavy duty diesel engine oil. Now, I know people are going to say I should use motorcycle only oil because of wet clutches, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So, if you actually look on the back here, you can see right here it talks about JSO MA/MA2. Okay, this meets the performance requirements of, right there. So, what that means is that this oil is safe. It meets the requirements for motorcycles. This does not have the friction additives or whatever it is that's in conventional or synthetic oil for gasoline engines that creates a problem for the clutch plates. So I shouldn't have any clutch problems. I know some people I have seen say that diesel oil is not good for high RPM motorcycle engines, blah, 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 blah. Again, I'm not destroying my motorcycle. And if I am, it's my motorcycle. So I guess we'll see. If you guys think I'm nuts and crazy, you can subscribe to the channel and watch for a video where I post how I destroyed my motorcycle with diesel oil. Because if I do it, I'll be damn sure to tell everybody not to do it. But otherwise, I expect you're not going to hear anything about this until I change the oil 12 months from now. This is not my main bike. This is my secondary bike. I'm not going to put a ton of miles on it. So I'm probably not going to need to change the oil until I hit that 12-month period. Not at the mileage interval, because I don't expect to hit that in the 12 months. Maybe if I start riding it a lot more, once I get a better seat on it and stuff, I'll have to worry about that. But right now I don't. And this diesel oil, $12.57 a gallon. Motorcycle oil, $25 to $60 a gallon, depending on if you're buying synthetic and what brand you're buying and all that kind of stuff. So it cost me half as much in oil. And it's a brush pig. They say this motor's indestructible. They said you could fill the case with snot and it would probably run on that just fine. Now, I'm not going to do that, but I'm fine with using half-price oil in an engine that I'm not putting high mileage on, that I'm not driving all the time, on a dirt bike, and the oil is rated that it's safe for a motorcycle. So that's the deal. That's what I'm doing. Let's get some oil in this thing and fire it up. Stamped right here on the case, 2,300 milliliters, which is just over a half gallon. There's also an oil level monitoring window right here on the case. So that's how we'll know when we have the right amount of oil in it also. But we're going to start by just putting about a half gallon in it, letting it settle, and then we'll see how much more we need to add. Then we'll need to start it so that it pumps up through the oil filter, and then check it again. When you get close, always add it in small increments. It's a lot easier to add oil than take oil out of a motorcycle engine. As you can see here, our window looks pretty good. Indicators there for low and there for high. We're not too high. I expect it to come down some once we start the bike and let it fill up the oil cavities for the oil filter and things like that. I'm going to move my oil pan out of the way, so I have a nice clean surface to watch for drips. Make sure everything's wiped off. That way, if there's any fresh oil, we know it came after I started the engine. The oil's not pouring out of it at least. All right, guys, well, we've got the oil changed, the new oil filtrant, new spark plugs. All right, I expect the next video I'm gonna do on this DR650 will be the upgrades I bought last fall that I haven't put on it yet. I have a windshield to put on it, bark busters, giant loop bags, so I have some cargo, and a rack to go back here. Oh, and a skid plate. Yeah, that'll probably all be in the next video, and maybe I'll do the upper chain roller in that one as well. I've got to get the screw for that. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you do that YouTube thing, check out the content on my channel, and if you dig it, don't forget to subscribe down below, ring that bell to be notified the next time I drop a new video, and as always, thank you for support, stay safe, and keep on riding.